I believe justice was done by the Presidential Election Petition Court yesterday, based on the fact that I believe in the two legal principles. One, he who goes for equity should go with clean hands. Secondly, he who asserts must prove. Also because I know as a friend of the legal practice, the courts do not gift judgment to appellants. Judgments are given based on evidences and witnesses that comply with provisions of the Evidence Act, the electoral law as is subsisting, and the Constitution. Now, in this case, the judges, during their pronouncement, elaborated the witnesses and the evidences submitted before them. And they took decisions based on point of law and having examined the evidences and the witnesses. Now, going back to the two principles I mentioned, I haven't heard all the depositions, situation whereby witnesses depose to documents that have been confirmed to be forged or fake, witnesses that are averring to what happened in other states where they were not present, evidences that have not complied with the provisions of the Electoral Act, etc., also put the appellants in a very disadvantaged position. I am very surprised by the kind of quality, with due respect, of work that was done by the learned counsels of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party and the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, as well as the APM. We saw pre-election matters that have been presented repeatedly that is outside the jurisdiction of the PEPC. There is no how the court will overreach its realm and boundaries to give judgment. Indeed, we can be sentimental about it, but the facts speak for themselves. It is based and premised on these facts that I form my opinion that justice is served. Of course, there is a provision for appellants to proceed to the Supreme Court, the highest court of the land, where the justices have the competence and the locus to determine whether the matter at the PEPC was determined properly or not. We should also note that the decisions of the court is a double-edged sword. In this instance, we saw where the APC were challenging the candidature of the presidential candidate of Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, and the ruling was in his favor because it's an election matter. The same, conversely, the candidature of the vice president then candidate of APC, was challenged, pre-election matter. The ruling is in his favor. With regards to criminality and other allegations on the presidential candidate of APC, it is a settled matter of law that is a pre-election matter. And we saw and we heard the deposition from various entities, including the United States of America, with regards to that matter. It is in that light I take this position. With regards to the legitimacy of government vis-a-vis this judgment, in my opinion, the issue of legitimacy is not an issue because a president has been sworn in and he's executing with his team. Indeed, the matter has been rested temporarily at the PEPC yesterday, and then we are awaiting the outcome of the decision of the Supreme Court. Unless the Supreme Court pronounces otherwise or decides otherwise, we have a legitimate government in play. With regards to if this judgment will widen the gap existing, between Nigerians, I dare say that the gap between Nigerians is not an issue of election, it's an issue of good governance and dividends of democracy. And I believe, largely Nigerians believe that and know that hunger, strife, poverty, insecurity, economic doldrums do not recognize ethnicity, religion, or tribe. And to that extent, those are the things we should put on the table to task leaders to deliver dividends of democracy. The sentiments around the election will have to be dealt with at the Supreme Court, since it is time-bound, after which I believe steps should be taken by the winner, indeed the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to ensure that there's unity, to ensure that he delivers, because delivery will engender, confidence and trust, and subsequently close the gaps. Socio-economic gaps can only be closed by delivery of good governance.